peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for being with us. This is Diaspora Dispatches, where I get to bring you the latest news from the continent of Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and we shall start our conversation, our news bulletin rather, from Guinea. And Guinea's main opposition leader has welcomed Sunday's ousting of President Alpha Condé, calling it an opportunity for a new beginning for the country. Salva Diallo said the army had made a historic act that completes the fight started by pro-democracy groups. He urged the army to ensure there was national reconciliation. The United Nations, African Union and regional bloc ECOWAS have condemned the coup, saying that constitutional order should be restored. They have also called for the release of President Condé, who was last seen on Sunday surrounded by army special forces. The coup leader, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, told reporters on Monday that the ousted leader was in their custody and was safe. Mr. Diallo was the president's main challenger in last year's election, which saw Mr. Condé run for a controversial third term. And then we head over to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the DRC now has received 250,000 doses of the Moderna vaccine donated through the global COVAX program. It is the first time the country has received a vaccine other than the AstraZeneca jab. President Felix Tshisekedi himself was reluctant to take the AstraZeneca jab and promised to take a different one once they were available. The first Moderna batch of 250,000 doses, which arrived on Monday, is part of the 6 million different vaccines that the Central African country has been waiting for since last July. Since the launch of the immunization campaign against COVID-19 on April 19th, this year, less than 100,000 people have received the jab. DR Congo is one of the countries where vaccine reluctance is high in the continent. More than 300,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccines had to be disposed of when they expired last June and July. And then we go to Algeria, where authorities have arrested 27 suspected members of a separatist group that has been declared a terrorist organization. Police accuse them of being part of the movement for the autonomy of Kabylie, MAK, that is seeking independence for the Kabylie region. The group was declared a terrorist organization after last month's wildfire that killed 65 people. The 27 were arrested on Monday, days after clashes between protesters and police in Kirata town. Police say officers were injured during the incident. The suspects have been accused of attempting to sow terror and strife among citizens by order of parties abroad. And then we go to Ethiopia, where the rebel group in Ethiopia's Tigray region says at least 150 people may have died of starvation as the humanitarian crisis worsens in the region. The Ethiopian government has not reacted to the allegations, but its previous rejected accusations by the UN that it was blocking aid. The TPLF's agriculture chief, Atinkut Mezegbo, said people and livestock were dying from lack of food and medicines, and the crisis might be bigger than what we know. It is nearly impossible to independently verify the allegations as phone lines and the internet remain cut off in Tigray, but relief agencies have long been warning of worsening humanitarian crisis with disastrous consequences. The statement released by Tigrayan forces on Monday said that some of the deaths occurred in camps hosting people displaced by the ongoing conflict. The humanitarian situation in Tigray still remains very dire. And then you go to Tunisia, where the G7 group of industrialized nations has called on President Kais Saied of Tunisia to urgently appoint a new head of government. In a joint statement, the group said the naming of a prime minister would create space for dialogue about proposed constitutional reforms. In July, President Saied swept aside the government, suspended parliament, and took control of the country. His opponents have accused him of staging a coup, but his measures were broadly welcomed by Tunisians who've been deeply disappointed by the performance of their political parties. And then we head over to South Africa, and President Cyril Ramaphosa says he has welcomed the decision to release former President Jacob Zuma on medical parole and hopes he gets well soon. President Ramaphosa was speaking at the National Executive Committee meeting of the governing African National Congress, ANC. On Sunday, the Department of Correctional Services announced that Zuma would serve the remainder of his 15-month prison sentence at home. The nature of his illness was not specified, but a statement said the former president would complete the rest of his sentence in the community under special conditions. His foundation described the development as an act of humanity. Zuma handed himself to the police in July after being sentenced for failing to attend an inquiry into corruption during his presidency. And then we go to Cameroon, where the school year in Cameroon started on Monday with hundreds of schools in the troubled western regions reopening their doors for the first time in 3 to 5 years. Anglophone separatists previously used threats to keep the schools closed, but some rebels for the first time are saying they should be spared from the conflict. Cameroon's government on Monday said that several hundred of schools reopened in its restive English-speaking northwest and southwest regions. Most schools in the regions have been shut down for 3 to 5 years since the start of a separatist conflict to carve out an English-speaking state from Cameroon and its French-speaking majority. And then we go to South Sudan. The Health Mission in South Sudan has appealed to both national and local leaders to address the conflict in Tambura County, Western Equatorial State. In the last few months, opposition forces have been fighting with the local youths, a conflict authorities have blamed on area politicians based in Juba. They include Jema Nunu, the incumbent Speaker of the National Parliament, and Patrick Zamoy, former governor, according to the state governor. The latest incident took place on Monday, leaving at least 14 people dead. So far, over 200 people have died and 40,000 others have been forced to flee their homes. And then the latest on the Kenya-Somaliland. And Kenya has appointed a head of its Liaison Office to the self-declared Republic of Somaliland in a move that could raise another diplomatic tiff with Somalia. A note verbal communications from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs dated September 2nd says that Kenya has deployed 4 officers to Hargeisa, namely Head of Liaison Office Benson Mwaliko, the Second Councillor Charles Washira, and Administrative Attaches Grace Musau and Ronald Nyakweba. Kenya is one of the few countries in the region that has forged a strong link with Somaliland, which unilaterally declared independence in 1991 but has not been recognized by the international community. Then we go to an issue at this time that is being spearheaded by IGAD, and the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, has asked South Sudan's President Salva Kiir to mediate the ongoing conflict in Ethiopia. Sudan's Prime Minister Abdel Hamdok, who is also the regional bloc's head, said he is the right person for the job. Just last Thursday, President Salva Kiir was in Ethiopia for an official visit where he met Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in the capital Addis Ababa. Tigray, a region in Ethiopia's north, has been raked by violence since November last year, when Prime Minister Abiy sent troops in Tigray to topple the Tigray's People Liberation Front, TPLF, the regional ruling party. Ethiopia has always maintained that the move was a response to TPLF's attack on the National Army's camps. Then we are still staying with Ethiopia. And Ethiopia's the largest carrier in Africa, has said that a recent weapon shipment to Sudan was legal. The carrier on Monday said it was responding to false news reports made by Sudanese state-owned Suna news agency. According to Suna, Sudanese authorities seized a shipment of weapons at Khartoum airport after arriving from neighboring Ethiopia on Saturday. The media outlet reported that Ethiopian Airlines passenger flight came from Addis Ababa. The shipment of 72 boxes containing weapons and night visions binoculars was immediately confiscated by Sudanese customs authorities, it said. But Ethiopian Airlines now says the shipment of weapons was done legally and that all the items came with proper accompanying documents from the shipper to the consignee. And then we end our news with some developing story from Nigeria, and President Muhammadu Buhari, as we speak, or maybe he's already concluded this meeting, was receiving briefings from the Chief of Defense Staff, Service Chiefs, and the Inspector General of Police and other heads of security agencies at his presidential villa in Abuja. Also attending the meeting are the Ministers of Defense, Bashir Magashi, Justice Minister Abubakar Mulami, Police Affairs Maigari Dingyadi, Interior Minister Rauf Aregbesola, and Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Onyema. They are expected to brief the President on the current security situation across the country, as well as propose some solutions. This is as banditry, kidnappings and killings have escalated in the country. The insecurity situation in Nigeria has worsened with the emergence of criminal gangs, often with the hundreds of members who raid communities, steal cattle and kidnap residents for ransom after looting and burning homes. Many northern states, especially Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara and Niger states are the worst hit, with people being kidnapped every other day. And that is the latest there from the continent. So hopefully this meeting, it's not the first time that President Buhari is meeting his security team to try to find a solution to the insecurity in Nigeria. But they've had these meetings before and nothing seems to change after that. If anything, it only gets worse. So you wonder, why do they even have so, and why has it been taking long? If because the situation in Nigeria is really bad. So I think it would have been proper even for President Buhari to be getting these briefings and to be having these meetings and to strategize and to see which are the best ways he could use to ensure that the government responds to the issue of insecurity in Nigeria appropriately and effectively. So they're meeting today. He's meeting all these people, the Chief of Defense, the Service Chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, and other security agencies at his presidential villa today in Abuja. I've read about this here before, and nothing really has been able to be done after that. And so hopefully after this meeting, we might see a bit of reduction in those kidnappings and the killings and the banditry activities that we've been seeing being carried out by these criminal gangs that have even made schools in one of the states in the northern part of Nigeria to close down. Schools have closed down because children are no longer safe in their classes. And so this is a very urgent matter. And I'm surprised that it took President Buhari so long, because these things have been happening every other day. There's a report of a massive kidnapping at a school in a village, and it's become a very routine, thing happening in Nigeria, and it has been normalized. And so hopefully this meeting that President Buhari has had with these people, the security apparatus and agencies in the country might, come with ways and solutions to address that. So this other issue of Kenya appointing a head of the Liaison Office to the self-declared Republic of Somaliland. I will not get too much into it, but I'm sure President Farmajo will not be very happy with this move. But Kenya had said it will do that. Kenya had said it will build an embassy, but it has not. A consulate there, but it has not. But it has sent a liaison office. I don't think it's a fully fledged, ambassador office in Somaliland, but we know that Kenya and Somaliland have a good working relation, and we've been working together, especially when it comes to the fight against Al-Shabaab. Somaliland, Jubaland have been very helpful in that regard. So Kenya has enjoyed a good neighborly relationships with these two states inside of Somalia. But Mogadishu and Nairobi have not been getting along so well. But the last time we were having this conversation was that, there were talks when the Prime Minister Roble came to Nairobi, and they had a talk with President Kenyatta, and Kenya and Somalia agreed on embarking on working on their diplomatic relationship, and seeing how they can get things back to where they used to be before. All these, acrimonies we've seen have been cropping up between Kenya and Somalia. So this latest move of Kenya appointing this communication from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs about 4 officials who will be deployed to Hargeisa. I think this will will not sit very well with President Farmajo. So we shall be waiting here to see what Farmajo will say. You know, he is in the habit of making these diplomatic communications in the middle of the night. So probably tomorrow we'll wake up to some news from Mogadishu. I don't know, but we shall be looking forward to see how that will work out there. And of course, the United Nations mission in South Sudan has raised concern and now is appealing both to the national government and local leaders to address the renewed conflict in Tambura County in western Equatoria State that has seen a whole highway closed down because of also banditry and kidnappings and killings. And there's a renewed communal fighting, and a lot of youths have formed different gangs in the villages and all over the place. So South Sudan seems to be always on the edge. And it is a cause for concern, so hopefully IGAD might want to meet up quickly and address this issue, or EAC, and address this issue on what is happening in South Sudan. But even as we speak on the crisis in South Sudan, IGAD itself has now appointed President Salva Kiir, who I think has enough to deal with in his country. But IGAD has appointed him to be the mediator between Sudan, no, in the conflict inside Ethiopia, between the government and the TPLF. Of course, President Salva Kiir has experience. He's been the one leading the mediations between the rebels in Sudan and the government, led by Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok. And he seems to have done a fairly good job. And so maybe out of that, and his experience with him being a rebel and dealing with rebel groups in his own country, so maybe he might forget the fact that he's unable to actually stabilize and bring peace in South Sudan, but he's been able to be helpful in other areas outside of South Sudan. And so they're saying they've asked if he could, help in mediating this peace process in Ethiopia, the crisis in Ethiopia. And of course, President Salva Kiir was happy to do that. And Sudan's Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok, who is also the regional bloc, said that President Salva Kiir will be the right person for the job. Remember, Sudan's Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok had offered himself a couple of weeks ago to mediate in the crisis inside of Ethiopia, but Abiy Ahmed could not trust, because they're still having some issues, these two countries. One with the Great Renaissance Ethiopian Dam, and also there's a border conflict involving Sudan and Ethiopia. So Abiy Ahmed said, thank you, but no thank you. You are not the right person to come in and mediate, seeing that even a lot of TPLF members and Tigrayans who are running from Ethiopia find a safe haven in Sudan. So there's a lot at stake. So perhaps Abdallah Hamdok was not the right person to mediate this crisis, which I think to some extent I agree. But Abdallah Hamdok, who is the IGAD's regional head, he said that he agreed that President Salva Kiir was the right person to mediate in the conflict inside of Ethiopia between Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front, that is the TPLF. Hopefully this conflict can end. When you hear the stories that are coming out of there, I feel like a genocide is just ongoing, just right under our noses. And maybe a couple of years from now, I don't know if you look back and think, but this happened under our watch, and what did we do to try to lessen the suffering of the people of Tigray, or to try to help in addressing or mediating or bringing peace and stability, and just ensuring that, some of these things are addressed. But things are dire, and the humanitarian crisis continues, and now people are dying from hunger, people are dying from famine, people are dying from diseases that are treatable because hospitals are closed, there's no medicine. So this is serious. And if President Salva Kiir can help in finding a solution and mediation, and perhaps helping the humanitarian aid to get to the people who really need it, then I think that will be nice. That will be a good thing on his part. Okay, so South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa is happy that his predecessor is at his home I think right now, I don't know if he's already at home, but he was given the medical parole. He left prison. I think it's a good move. Jacob Zuma is 79 years old, and he'll be serving the remainder of his 15-month prison sentence at home because he's been ill. Of course, the nature of his illness has not been made public, and so he handed himself over, remember, in July because he was wanted after failing to attend an inquiry into corruption that happened during his presidency. Something else that is also not, I think, worth noting before I conclude is that schools in parts of Cameroon, in the Anglophone region specifically, are opening for the first time in 3 to 5 years. Children in this area have not been able to go to school due to the restive nature of this place. The Anglophone region, or they like to call themselves the Ambazonians, have been fighting the French-speaking side, led by President Paul Biya, and they've been asking to be allowed to have a referendum so that they can go and have a referendum and go from their own country, because after, I think, was it in 2017 when President Paul Biya, the government tried to impose that all schools should be taught in French and all court proceedings should be done in French and everything. And so the teachers and I think the lawyers started the protest, and then it grew to now the Anglophones asking for them to be allowed to have a referendum and for them to have their own country because there has been a systematic marginalization for a very long period of time where the Anglophones felt they were not being treated right with the government of their successive governments in Cameroon, and so they've been asking to be allowed to have a referendum so that they can determine their future and how they want their country to look like outside of Cameroon. I think the same calls by Biafrans and groups like that. So I think it's a good thing because I've always said the children in this part of Cameroon, they have been missing out 3 to 5 years. The schools have been closed, so and a lot of times it is the separatists in the Anglophone region who have been sometimes accused of causing a lot of insecurity, but also the government troops have been causing a lot of mayhem in the Anglophone region. So they've allowed the schools to open. I think it's the right thing to do so that the children from that region can go and get a decent education so that a few years from now they can be able to compete with the rest of their counterparts on levels when it comes to jobs and things like that. Because if you close the schools, the rest of the country is going on with learning. These children have been disadvantaged. So I think for the better good of the future of even the Anglophone side of the Cameroon, I think it's good that you let the children go to school. So I think that is a good thing. And I think that is that. So that is the latest from the continent of Africa this afternoon. Of course, the crisis in Guinea still continues. The whereabouts of President Alpha Condé is unknown. The last time he was seen was it Sunday or Saturday? And so, of course, the UN, African Union, ECOWAS have condemned this coup. But the leader of this coup, Mamadi Doumbouya, has said there's no cause for panic or worry. He will ensure that he forms a government that will unite all Guineans. And he's saying that his plan is to form a government for the people and by the people. I don't know what that will look like. And so we are waiting. So as we speak, of course, they suspended the country's constitution. So I don't know what is working. I think now it's a martial law at work there in Guinea. So the situation still is not too bad. And I think after the ousting of the President Alpha Condé, some section of Guineans were out there celebrating. He forced himself into a third term re-election last year. That went against the constitution that he worked hard to change sometimes back in March last year. The elections were held in October in the same year. So and what I found to be interesting is the main opposition leader came out and said it's a good thing that President Alpha Condé has been removed, and he's saying that the army did the right thing. I don't know how to feel about those comments because Well, I can understand where he's coming from, seeing that even the elections that brought back President Condé for a third illegal term. For me, it's illegal because he had to change the constitution. He had to alter the constitution to accommodate his ambitions that were out of order. And so the elections themselves are very controversial. They're not free and fair, and that is what they said last year. So he's congratulating the army to, for ousting the president. I don't know if that is how they should be talking, because that is not how you bring the country together, opposition leaders. So those comments, I'm not sure if that is what the opposition leaders there in Guinea are supposed to be saying. But what can you say? So that is a situation that continues to unfold, and we will continue to update you as we receive any more new information from Guinea. But the army has assured us that President, or rather former President Alpha Condé, who is 83 years old, he should have retired last year, honestly. He had no business trying to run for a third term. He really didn't. He could be enjoying his retirement. 83 is a lot of years, and it's a blessing, so why? I don't know. I think he's regretting. So if he can just apologize and then just go enjoy his retirement with his family, that would be nice for him. And they've said he's fine, so we hope that he's okay and that he has not been harmed in any way. I don't know why they still have him in custody. So yesterday, the army junta had a meeting with the ministers and government officials who used to work under Alpha Condé, and they were told you cannot leave this country at all. So all of them. So I think those who are involved in corruption or things like that right now might be very worried, because you don't know what the army will do next. All right, so that is the latest there from the continent of Africa. This has been Diaspora Dispatches. My name is Miriam Ogoto. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.